In 2023, I traveled to Georgia to compete at Sharon Forks Qualifier 2023. The first round of that competition was 6x6, an event that I've been practicing religiously. During the school bus rides, during the lunch periods, during the times I was supposed to be doing homework, I knew that if I really locked in and really focused, I could get a sub 2. Calamity. For the first time in my cubing career, I was a victim of competition nerves, and it was due to 3 major mistakes. In this video, I'll show you what those mistakes were, as well as some strategies you can employ to ease competition nerves that I've learned from experience. However, it is important to note that everyone is different, and the strategies that I found may not work for everybody else. Mistake number 1, pushing yourself to clutch up during an official round. In that moment, I had the potential to get a sub 2 6x6 average, just like I have the potential to get a sub 7 303 average during any round. Cubing at home, cubers naturally have sessions where they're a bit more focused. In competition, it's natural to think that you will be able to tap into that zone, and sometimes you will, but it's not what you should expect. Your goal in competition should be to solve normally, not exceptionally. Attempting the latter can make you much more nervous. Mistake number 2, letting previous solving influence your current emotions. How many times have you begun a solve, realized you're at an insane pace, only to choke at the very end? How about an average where you start off strong and then mess up near the end? On the other hand, what about averages where you've just been solving and then CS timer pops up with a PB/AO12? Or incredible solves that just didn't feel that fast? At my first few competitions, it was common for me to start off strong and then completely collapse near the end, whether it be during an individual solve or an average. This was because I subconsciously treated the entire average like it was one thing. But if you take every solve like a completely separate test, then you will be more consistent. Don't get hyped up by the good and don't get bogged down by the bad. This is the mindset I adopt whenever I have to clutch a final solve. I tell myself that the average isn't contingent on this solve and that there is no reason to treat the solve as if it's special. And this approach worked in securing my last 2 303 PRs and my last 4x4 PR. Mistake number 3, attempting to metagame the solve during the solve. At Sharon Forks, while solving, I was making decisions about safetying a section or turning as hard as I could on a later section based on my perceived performance of the solve so far. When solving a 7x7, I often think, okay, my first 2 centers were a bit bad, so I should make up for it during edges. But that just takes concentration away from the solve. Just turn the cube as you usually would regardless of your previous performance. Don't play a mental game, it will just be a losing battle most of the time. Now, let's move on to some strategies. The first one being to practice how you would compete. At home, I often practice in an environment that is comfortable. Untimed inspection, a nice video essay playing in the background, a cushy chair, and nice hot air conditioning. There's nothing necessarily wrong with this. My times have improved, but it was difficult for me to replicate the mental state that I had associated with the environment of my home. But by practicing without music and with crowd noise in the background, in environments and temperatures that you're unfamiliar with, you're essentially bulletproofing your mind by letting it adapt ahead of time. So I encourage you to do comp sims at home as well as other locations, as long as you're not disturbing anybody else. The second strategy is to observe how you're feeling and turning in a flow state, and try and replicate those mental conditions in competition. Concentration isn't a linear spectrum. You can try being concentrated in competition, but if you're doing it the wrong way, then you won't perform as well as you can. But if you know what state of concentration feels right and leads to your best solving, then you can adjust accordingly in competition. The third strategy is to stay hydrated. In the overwhelming environment of competition, it's easy to forget about taking care of your body. But you will not be solving at your best if you're thirsty, tired, lightheaded, or migrained. Staying hydrated while eating healthily will keep your energy up and your nerves down. The fourth strategy is progressive muscle relaxation. Progressive muscle relaxation is a research-backed technique that aids with both mild and chronic anxiety, and it can help with the physical symptoms of competition nerves. To do it, first pick a muscle group. Actively contract the muscle by tensing it while breathing in, and then relax while breathing out. Focus on that feeling of relaxation, and then do the same thing with a different muscle group. For me, before starting a solve, I like to tense my upper arm first, then my forearms, and then my hands by making a fist. Then I hold out my hands and see if they're shaking a lot. If they are, then I know that I'm not ready to start the solve, and I'll either repeat PMR or repeat some other technique on this list. The fifth strategy is deep breathing. Of course, everybody knows that this is a good strategy to calm your nerves, But for me in the past, my graph of inhalation and exhalation looked like this, where I breathe in and then immediately breathe out. But for some people, if you hold your breath at the top, you might get a stronger calming effect. I'm not aware of any scientific research that compares the two, but to me, this idea intuitively makes sense. You should also breathe in with your belly instead of your chest, which is known as diaphragmal breathing. This can help lower blood pressure and heart rate better than regular breathing because of better oxygen absorption. The sixth strategy is listening to music in the waiting area. Grabbing some headphones and listening to calming music can help with suppressing anxious thoughts and reducing the physical effects of nerves. I'm personally into lo-fi, but if that's not your thing, then anything instrumental that's smooth and repetitive would be a good choice. The final strategy is just to go to a lot of competitions. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game. It gets easier to perform well in the competition environment the more times you put yourself in a competition environment. When I started cubing, I was so nervous before every round, but now I barely give it a thought. Nobody achieves record-breaking times at their first competition, but you will get better as time goes on. At some point, competitions just begin to feel normal. You start to realize that failing around is not the end of the world. And that's when stuff gets real. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.